Hello guys, and welcome to my third and final video for this 10 cards, 10 handmade cards, one homemade kit video series that I have been doing in my channel. So now I'm going to be working with card number 7, and this one, card number 8 I should say. And this one we will be starting off with stamping it on vellum. I had this grand idea, I should say, that I wanted the background to be just vellum. Um, and so that's kind of where I'm starting off, but again, because I am such an imperfect card maker, it didn't turn out the way I had envisioned it in my head. So I'm actually going to end up kind of changing my design, but I'm going to start off with a vellum. I'm going to start with that light pink for the solid colored flower, and then I'm going to stamp that maybe a couple of times and just stamping it. I'm going to go with the solid first, and I'm going to stamp that as much as I can, or as many flowers as I can onto this scrap of vellum, and then I'm going to move on with the second layer, and then with the third layer, which is the one with the fine detail. So like I said, I had this grand idea that the background would just be vellum with the flowers, and I thought that would look really nice against a solid background because you have that subtleness of the vellum, so it's kind of like the flowers were floating. Like I said, that was what I had in my head, but it didn't turn out quite right, but it's okay. So now I'm going to go on with the second layer of the flower, and I'm trying to figure out, I think the reason why I am not so confident adhering it right away earlier was because I knew that the vellum, when you stamp something on there, the surface takes a while for pigment ink to dry. So I think I was waiting for it to dry, but I was impatient, so I was like, you know what the heck, I'm just gonna go and stamp away. So, and that's what I did here. I think some of them turned out okay because it had some time to dry. Of course, not enough time, but some, and it was okay. But for some of them, it looked kind of blotchy. But I'm stamping away anyways because I'm just having fun. That's just what card making is for me, just having fun and learning from my mistakes. So I hope that you have been liking this video and all of the cards that I have been sharing. It was a lot of fun creating them, and I hope that you had gotten inspired and got some great tips and tricks to try for your own card making. So now I'm going to go off with the last layer, I believe. And with that one, I decided to just get it out of my We Are Memory Keepers tool and just go with the foam adhesive. And I'm going to go on with the black. I thought that the black had a good contrast with all of the pink, and it just looked really elegant. And I am in love with with layered flower stamps because uh, there's just so much dimension. Once you start using different colors, they just kind of come alive for me. So I really like that part of the layered flowers. And this one was fairly inexpensive. I got it at Joann's. It's a Hampton Art set, and I believe I used my 40% coupon for it. So it was $10, and I was able to get it for like $6. And so I have this pattern paper, and it's just a grid one. And like I said, I wanted to use that whole sheet to make it look like it's a piece of paper, but it's not going to work out. So I'm going to kind of set it aside and kind of regroup. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to adhere these joy words that I have cut out 3 times, one with white, one with orange, because those are my scraps, and then one with a subtle pattern paper. And so once it was all dried, I decided, you know what, I am going to adhere or add some glitter to it. And so I did. And then I hand cut them, and then I added some leaves that I used two different colors of green for them. I used the Studio G that I added to my kit, and then I used a very dark green that was a pigment ink for the details of the stem, and it turned out good. I actually liked how everything looks good, and because of the darkness of the ink that I used for the flowers, that I didn't mind using my regular adhesive to adhere it onto the paper, because you couldn't really see through the vellum because of the dark shade of the pink. And I die cut the label, and then I stamped the words "be filled with" on there, and I adhere that flushed to the right of the card, and then I'm going to adhere my joy right underneath there. And of course I got to put my block to make sure that that's adhered really well, while I adhere some of this enamel dots on three different parts of my card. So I'm trying to figure out where the third one side's going to go, and I first adhered right underneath the O and a Y, but I didn't like it, so I pulled it out and then put it on the bottom of the Y. And so that's card number 8. Now we're going to go on to card number 9. And this one's very similar to card number 2, where I wanted to play with the stencil, but instead of using a solid white paper, I'm actually going to um, do it onto a subtle pattern paper. And this pattern paper had some grid lines to it, so I thought it would be good. And I also use a different color for my stenciling, which is this dark green from Rubber Stampede. And I'm just using that's actually a makeup sponge that I'm using to adhere that, because I don't have enough of the blender tool or the daubers to use for all of my inks. So I'm just using a sponge. And then I'm going to set that aside and clean off my stencils. I have to clean my stencils right away so that none of the inks will stay there. So here I decided, because I have been die cutting the word joy a lot with the other cards, I decided that this time I'm going to just stamp it, because the set also has um, the word in a stamp form. So I am going to stamp that with some Versamark, and I pulled out a green embossing powder from my stash from American Crafts, and that's what I'm going to be using to heat emboss with this sentiment. This is kind of, I want to say, my version of kind of a Christmas or holiday theme card, because the stamp was very holiday theme-ish with the words that I wanted to at least make one Christmas card. So this is going to be that for me. And I didn't use the traditional red and green, because I thought that the pinks kind of added a little bit of whimsy to the card, so I did that instead of red. And then I'm going to adhere the block with the stencil on top of a gray cardstock. And I'm just trying to figure out how am I going to dress this card up, and I decided that I would thread some twine behind the label. I don't know if I've already said it, but the label was die cut, again using Inspired by Stamping die cut set. So I have to finish my title here. So I have the word joy, but I knew that I needed to finish it off. So I'm going to stamp "to the world," and I just stamped that up with onto white scrap of paper, and that's going to go in the center. I could have stamped that onto the block, the pink block, but I just felt like it's not going to stand out against that embossed joy. So that's why I stamped it onto white first. Just adhering everything now, and I got to make sure I cut a slit so that I can thread my twine through. And the twine that I'm going to be using is from Lawn Fawn. It has, I think it's from a Christmas line, because it has some gold glittery thread through it, as well as just a um, beige one. So I wanted to make sure that that thread is not going to move anywhere, and so I decided to add some washi on the back of it. And I'm going to thread that through the slit that I created so that I can make tie a bow on the edge of it. Add a little bit of texture to this card. So that is my card, and then I'm going to adhere this with some itty bitty foam adhesive. So the foam that I've been using is just Fun Foam. The one that I got was the one that has the adhesive on one side, so all I have to do is add some adhesive on the other side, which is very convenient. So I wanted to use up some more of this enamel dots, and I'm going to put that into 2 different corners and then call it good. And then here is my last card. This is card number 10. This is pretty simple as well, but I wanted to play with the pattern papers. So I'm going to cut this text paper into 4 by 5 1/4, and that's going to be my first layer of pattern. And then I'm going to cut this black with stars, white stars, and that's actually going to go onto that red striped paper. I cut that about 2 1/2, and that's going to go into center. The design that I had planned for this would be that it's mostly center based. So I'm going to add that to the center, adhere it with my ATG gun, and then just trim off the excess. Then I die cut an oval using the Inspired by Stamping die cut set, just with white cardstock, and then also that label. And then I'm going to be, again, using my favorite flower from that stamp set. And I'm going to adhere or stamp the solid color first using my lightest pink, and then go from there. Go dark from there. So if you have any questions, just make sure that you leave it in the comment section below, and I will try to answer it as fast as I can. I know that I've been putting out a video every day this month, so if I don't answer back, I hope that you will give me a few days to do so, but I will try to answer it as fast as I can. So this particular ink pad that I used, that's a distress ink, was a little blotchy. I'm sure it's just human error why it was blotchy, but I'm just going to go with it because this is my last card. So I was like, I am done. I just want it all done. So now I have to find a sentiment, and I figured that I would just use the thank you so that it'll be a little bit more basic. And I could have heat embossed that with black, but I was feeling lazy. So now I'm going to adhere the oval with some foam adhesive as well as the label. And I'm going to show you all of the cards here pretty soon, all the ones that I created, and I actually also created 3 more cards with the scraps that was left over. So that was fun. I'm going to add some enamel dots and then call it good. I think I was planning on adding some glitter to that flower, but I did not want to mess it up, so I just stuck with that design. And then I'm going to show you all the cards when it's all done. So here they are, all 10 cards made with this one homemade kit. And I know that some of you guys have kind of followed suit and made your own homemade card kits, and some have been tagging me on Instagram. So thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm so glad that you guys are getting inspired, making your own kits with this and making some cards too. I mean, we all need to use up our stash, right? Because for me anyways, I like using them because then I have an excuse to buy some more, right? So here are my cards, and they all turn out interesting. And some of them were lessons learned, and some were kind of a surprise that they turned out the way they did. And I'm going to show you what was left over. I have a ton more of that paper because I think this kit had like 2 or 3 sheets of each of the designs. I have a ton more, as you can see, so I can use that with my scrapbooking and more card making. And then I almost used that. Oh, here's the stencil. Of course, that's going to go back in my stash. Almost used up all of the enamel dots, the silver ones, just 3 that's left over, some butterflies, and then of course these stamps and die cuts are going to go back into my stash because they are just really good tools to use and reuse. And then all of these ink pads and also the glitter and the embossing powder will go back. And then here are my extra 3 cards. I have some, like, flowers that were extras or scraps of paper from die cutting circles and whatnot. So I just used a bunch of scraps here, and I was able to create 3 more cards. So in this series, or in this kit, I actually made 13 cards. So there you have it. Again, if you have any questions, just leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.